Mike Hazen joins us, Executive VP, General Manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Congratulations on such a great year.
Thanks, guys. It was a tremendous run. It was really fun.
We were talking to Torey about the level of satisfaction you must take. You and Torey having been together for so long, it's not like you came when the rebuild was already 3/4 of the way done. This was all the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, when we came out of 2021, we've reminded ourselves that most people in our jobs, mine and Torey, don't get to keep going. Right, you get the pink slip after that, and we were fortunate enough that Ken and Derek believed in us, let us keep going, and we felt like we had started to grow the system a little bit that with some good young players, but you never know how that's going to work itself out. So given that time, we're very fortunate to be able to have seen it through. Most people don't get that opportunity. We're very thankful for that, and the players played great through the season and then into the playoffs, and we came up a little short in the World Series, but that whole entire ride was, we're starting to relive it a little bit. It's been a stinger for a while, but we're starting to relive it a little bit.
When you're sitting in your office on the blackboard and you're looking at it and going, all right, this is 2020, 2021, and you're looking at the other teams in the division, do you kind of go 24, 25 is our year, 23? Do you do that at all? Is that how you look at it or no?
Not really. We didn't rebuild in 2021. We were terrible. We weren't trying. We were trying to compete. We were trying to make the playoffs. We were trying to win a wild card. That did not happen to any stretch of the imagination, and certainly in 22 either. So no, we didn't really look at a specific time frame. What we looked at was this group of young players with Thomas and Carroll and McCarthy and that group. We wanted to get them up to the big leagues and see what we had. We thought they were going to be a good young nucleus. We knew we were going to have to build around them to some degree, add from outside somehow. But we felt like that group of players had a chance to do some good things in this league.
Who surprised you in that group? Like maybe he came a little bit further than you thought. You can say Corbin Carroll weren't expecting to be MVP. I don't know, but I'm just saying, who surprised you at the performance?
I think Brandon Pfaadt, from the time we took him, where we took him in the draft, just cruised through the minor league system, got up to. Probably could have come up at the end of last year, honestly, but we couldn't. We didn't have a spot for him to come up and pitch. Dre Jameson and Ryan Nelson had come up, and Tommy Henry, and we're all throwing really well, so we didn't really have any spot for him. But watching Brandon Pfaadt come up and just, and he had a few bumps this year during the season. We had to send him back down, but you saw what he did in the playoffs. I think that's what. We're very excited and hopeful about what he's going to be able to do coming into this year.
He was so much fun to watch as we were visiting with Torey. So I want to ask you about this. You guys didn't really sit around on your laurels very long, clearing off shelf space for the pennant, because you got to work pretty quickly and pulled off a pretty big trade. I guess the biggest of the offseason so far, the Kelnick deal notwithstanding yesterday. Eugenio Suárez coming your way. When you're in these discussions so quickly after the postseason, how many different threads are alive to fill that third base spot? In other words, this wasn't the only trade you were talking about at the time, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's no room when you have a negative run differential to rest on any laurels. Like, I think we're very aware of where we stand in the world, and that we played really well for the 30 days in October, which was fantastic and is a really hard thing to do. But if you rewind back to us even getting into the playoffs, it was a little dicey there in the last weekend of the season. Yes, there were a number of threads to fill this spot. I think the biggest one was the impact we lost out of our clubhouse coming out of this season. The guys that carried the makeup of that clubhouse a lot, we lost some of that stuff. And Eugenio, not only being a really good player, was also somebody that we were targeting from a makeup standpoint, hopefully to bring some of that veteran leadership back into our group. We have a young team. That young team needs to be supplemented by veteran players that can teach these guys how to win, and we had that this year.
What did you see from his game that you liked? I know there's a lot of swing and miss, but obviously the power, those are the obviouses. And you just talked about the leadership. But what were you looking for?
Yeah, the defense is important to us. We're still going to be built on pitching and defense. I mean, we're not going to get away from that. I still don't think we're going to outslug the other team. We're not going to line up and go 3-run homer for 3-run homer. Going to lose that contest, I'm guessing. But we play really good baseball. We run the bases well. We play defense, and we can pitch. And I still think that's something that's going to be what we have to do well in order for us to be where we need to be at the end of the season. And what we heard and watched was how hard he works at making himself into a really good defender, and that's something that is very important to us. And we haven't had an everyday third baseman since we've really been here, plus or minus a few runs, and that was also, from a stability standpoint, replacing the right-handed bats that we lost and getting that at third base was important to us.
So, you know, in the NL West, when everybody's trying to track down the Dodgers and the payroll there, we saw a couple years ago the Padres looked like they'd climbed the mountain, and then they had a regression season. You guys knocked off the Dodgers this year. You've already added Suarez. I'm sure you're thinking about staying good and competing with LA in the future. What's next on the list? What are you looking for here in Nashville?
Yeah, we still need to build out our position player group a little bit. I still think we're on the younger side. You know, I think we had 4 23-year-olds in our lineup at one point during the playoffs. So I still think that group needs to be supplemented by some good veteran players. And then our pitching staff. Our starting staff kind of fell apart on us in the second half of the season. You saw we ended up bullpenning games 4 in the CS and in the World Series. Not ideal, wasn't what we really wanted. We wanted to line up 4 or 5 starting pitchers to go out there and pitch. That just wasn't the cards that we had to play at the time. So I still think our starting pitching, this will be the first offseason that we're not hyper-focused on the bullpen. We kind of put that together during the season, as you saw during the second half of the year. Those guys are all coming back. So I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. Obviously, Paul Sewald was a huge addition for us going into the playoffs, and then Ryan Thompson as well. And watching Ginkel emerge and then all the lefties. So I think our bullpen's in a decent spot. I think starting pitching and adding a bat's probably.
What makes Strami so good, Brett Strom? Why is he so important?
Never stops. I think players want to watch a coach that cares as much as Strami cares about them. Wants to know that every day he's up all day, all night, thinking about ways to get them better. I think that's what probably any player would want to know, that they care and they're going to try to help them become a better player. That's what he does so well.
Organizational dinners. Is Derek bringing out the credit card one time for you guys, or is it you guys on your own? Not yet.
Still. We've been on our own for no meal money. There's nothing.
All the way to the World Series. He's still sitting on his rat hole. That's amazing. Mike, way to go. Congratulations on such a great year. Thanks for being with us.
Appreciate it.